Welcome to Cooking with Corra. This is Corra, and I'm Stacy. Today's episode of Cooking with Corra celebrates Christmas in August. Those of you who have been involved in Girls in Action, Royal Ambassadors, and Children in Action know that we celebrate Christmas in August so that we can give supplies to North American Mission Board missionaries for their ministries. You can find a list of missionaries and the supplies they need at wmu.com. Corra, what are we baking today?
Today we are going to be making red velvet cupcakes.
Sounds delicious. Well, we're going to start with the cake part, and this recipe is from Kentucky 4-H Bake Along Club, and you can find the ingredients and the directions for how to make it in the description of this video. All right, take it away, Corra.
So first I'm going to be starting with buttermilk. And if you don't have buttermilk, you can just use milk and vinegar. So you're going to need 1 cup of buttermilk. And it does not matter what order you put these in because it all will mix together. That is what is good about this recipe. And then next, I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. And then next, I am going to be putting in 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And then I will put in 2 cups of sugar, and I have already pre-measured it. And then I will put in 2 large eggs, and I like to crack them in a separate bowl so that if I get any eggshells, I can just take them out. And then next, I will be putting in 2 cups of vegetable oil, and I have also already pre-measured that. And then next, I will be putting in 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, and I have also already pre-measured that. And then I will be putting in 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I will be putting in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I like to measure it over a bowl just in case I go a little overboard. And then you will need 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. And then I like to mix it before I add in the red food coloring, so that's what I'm going to do. You're going to start with it pretty low so that flour doesn't go everywhere, and then work your way up. And you don't need to stir it very long, just a little bit. And then you want to take a spatula and scrape the edges just to make sure you got everything combined. And then you're gonna want to give it one more mix where you add in the red food coloring. So the recipe calls for a full bottle, but I did that the first time I made these and thought it was a little too much. So I usually try to add about half the bottle. So you just kind of guess. I think that's good, and if I don't think it's good later, I'll just add a little bit more. Now I'm going to scrape the edges again to make sure all the red has gotten mixed in. And then you're, with cakes, a lot of times you want to mix for 2 minutes, and that's the case with this cake. And the directions say to mix it on medium speed for 2 minutes, and so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so it's been 2 minutes. And so now what what you're gonna wanna do is take your muffin pan, and I have cupcake liners, but if you wanna spray it, you can. And I usually, if I'm at home, I usually use a 12 count muffin pan, and usually the recipe makes about 24 muffins. But here I have a small oven, so I have to use a 6 count one. So I'll just have to take a little bit longer, but that's okay. And then you can use a spoon or a cookie scoop and just take it until it's about 3/4 of the way full. So usually I just do 2 cookie scoops, probably 2 scoops of a spoon per muffin or cupcake. I find it easier doing this than if I just pour it, because usually it goes everywhere if I try to pour it. Okay. So once you have all your cupcakes scooped out, you're gonna want to put them in your oven at 325 degrees, and it'll depend on the oven how long it takes. So if I just set a timer for 20 minutes, and then I stick a toothpick in it, and if it comes out clean, then they're done. And if it doesn't, then you need to put them in for 5 more minutes at a time until the toothpick comes out clean. And after it comes out clean, you're gonna wanna let them set for 30 minutes before you put on the icing, so that they have time to cool and the icing doesn't melt.
Hi, we're back with Cooking with Corra. In this episode, Corra is going to show us how to make the frosting for her lovely red velvet cupcakes. But I wanted to share with you something that Corra told me. She said that she has made these for a fundraiser at her church, which gave me the idea that maybe you could make these as a fundraiser for Christmas in August, and then you would be able to purchase the supplies that you need to give those missionaries. So I'm going to let Corra take it away.
So in the frosting, first what you're going to do is cream together your butter and cream cheese until light and fluffy. And you want your butter and cream cheese to be at room temperature. So you're going to want 1 stick of butter, which is 1/2 cup. And if you haven't let it set out, you can just microwave it until it's soft. But you don't want it to be melted. And then same with your cream cheese, but if you were to microwave your cream cheese, you would want to put it in a bowl. And you are going to want to use 8 ounces of cream cheese, which is 1 package. It's not going to. And then you're going to want to take your spatula and scrape it. As best as you can. It doesn't really have to be perfect. You just want to get as much off as you can. And this is cream cheese icing. So that's the type of icing it is. So then I'm just gonna scrape the edges, scrape off the whisk part, and then mix it for a little bit more just to make sure everything is combined so that you don't have chunks of butter or chunks of cream cheese in your icing. So then I'm going to take this out just so that there's not a big chunk on it. And then I am going sorry, I had to read the directions because I forgot. You're going to want to have powdered sugar, and for powdered sugar, it really just depends on what time of the year you make it and everything and how humid it is based on how much you use. The recipe calls for 3 to 4 cups, but sometimes I've had to use more, so it really just depends. So you're going to want to mix it in 1 cup at a time. And you'll just want to mix it in until it's firm, but not super firm. I'm going to add an extra half a cup just because I think it'll only need 3.5 cups. But I'll have to see once it's mixed in. So it's a good consistency, but you want to keep in mind that you're still going to be adding a little bit more liquid, so it's going to get a little bit runnier. And if you need to add more powdered sugar in later, you can after you add in the vanilla and buttermilk or milk. You've scraped off the edges. You just want to mix it a little bit more. So now you are going to add your buttermilk. I just am going to use buttermilk since that's what I had. And you can also use milk or cream. And you are going to want to put a teaspoon of that in. And then you're also going to want 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I am going to go wash my hands really quick. Okay, so after you wash your hands, I had to wash them because I had a bunch of stuff on my hands. You're gonna want to scrape off the whisk thing as best you can. And then I like to take it off because it's easiest for me. And then I am going to use a piping bag, but you can just use a Ziploc bag or even just a spatula to decorate them. And you are going to want, sometimes you'll find little streaks of vanilla or something, so you'll just mix that in a little bit more. So then you're gonna put some icing. Just put 2 spatulas full into your bag. And I have mine in a cup because it makes it easiest for me. I'm gonna want to work that down to the tip of the thing. Big bag, twist it, or Ziploc bag. And then you just decorate it. So I'm just gonna do a little swirl. So I only have 6 cupcakes, but you just decorate however many you have. And you want to make sure your cupcakes are cool when you do this so that the icing does not melt. And if you run out of icing, you can just put some more in it. And if you need to make more, you also can do that. Okay. And what I'm gonna do to make it a little more Christmassy is take some green sprinkles. They're not sprinkles, but they're very similar. And you're just gonna sprinkle it on top a little bit. And then the cupcake's red and there's green sprinkles on top. So you have your Christmas cupcakes.